everybody, this is TJR. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If not, welcome back. And I mentioned in a previous video that over the holidays, I purchased quite a lot of records. This was because there were so many really good online deals, new vinyl, really great buys. And I'm gonna talk about some here in a moment. But this particular little haul got me thinking a lot about Beatles solo albums. For some reason, I've never delved too deeply into the Beatles solo albums, except for one Beatle, and that's Paul McCartney. And that's who the haul was. I own quite a number of his albums, although surprisingly, many of them are his later period albums. Now, I picked up Venus and Mars back in the 70s when it came out. This is a vintage copy that I picked up at a store here. I, of course, also own this on CD here as well. And aside from that one, the other 70s album that I've owned is Band on the Run, which I never got on vinyl initially. I picked it up on CD first, and it's always been a favorite. I don't own it on vinyl. Recently, I did pick up a copy of Ram. This was an amazingly good deal that I got on this one here. This was not part of the sale that I just recently took advantage of, but I had this one for a while, but I thought I'd show it. This is a half-speed mastering of Ram. And it was so inexpensive. It was such an insane deal. And I had never really heard the album before. I've heard it was good. I couldn't believe how good it was. Once I heard it, I thought, wow, how did I miss out on this album all these decades? And I'm not just talking about the half-speed mastering. The half-speed mastering was awesome, but just the songs themselves. You know, I used to listen to music in the 70s on a transistor radio, you know, and I could tell, hey, this is a good song, even on a single speaker transistor radio. That was my first music gear ever, was a transistor radio with a cassette deck attached, and I would tape songs off the radio on cheap cassettes because that's all I could afford. I thought it'd make no difference. Anyways, though, but aside from that, I think those are the only 70s albums by him that I've picked up. Most everything else I've picked up by him has been his later period stuff. I'll show you some of these real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. I take it back. There was one other 70s album that I got originally on vinyl. I don't own it on vinyl anymore, but it was Wings Over America. When they reissued it, I picked up a special edition that had an additional bonus disc of live material not on the original album here. And I had that original record back in the 70s. Like a lot of my records I had back then, I ended up getting rid of them when CDs came along and started purchasing CDs. And funny how it works out that you end up getting back into records. But outside of that, it's all the later period stuff. Run Devil Run, his 1950s rock and roll album, has a couple of originals on it. Mostly it's covers. He's got some great guest stars like David Gilmour on it. Egypt Station, very recent from him. This was a great album. I mean, I couldn't believe how good it was. You know, it's right up there with his vintage stuff. This is his album As the Fireman, and I forget what the title of this one is. Oh, Electric Argument. That's it, yeah. Electric Arguments, excuse me. I haven't heard the other Fireman album, but I have heard this one. It's really good. At some point, I should hear the others, I should say. Memory Almost Full. This was the first of the later period albums that I picked up and just thought it was really good, and I think this is the experience I had with this album being so good is what led me to pick up the rest of his later stuff. Ocean's Kingdom, the orchestral album that he did, the ballet, which I really enjoyed. And but yeah, those are the later albums here. Of course, I've got one other here, but I'll show it to you in a moment. And real quick, yeah, here's my copy of Band on the Run, the reissue version, Venus and Mars, the reissue version. But let me talk about this little haul I got. This was Paul McCartney, of course, and I got these 3 albums here, brand new. These albums here were $8 each. You Discover Music was doing 12 Days of Christmas each day. They would have one or two, maybe three select albums on a special sale, 70% off. So we've got New, one of his later albums, an album that I also really liked. I initially picked this one up on CD. I was holding this one back. I know my CD copy has more tracks than this vinyl copy does, but I want to hear it on vinyl. See if I notice any real difference between the two. $8, I figured I can't go wrong for that. Also, a vintage 70s album that I never ever really picked up and listened to. Wings at the Speed of Sound. I know the hits off this album. You know, Let 'Em In, Silly Love Songs, Beware My Love. I know these hits, but I don't know the album really. So I'm going to be delving into this. This is a vintage album that I haven't heard before. Hopefully it's as good as the others that I have. You know, Band on the Run, Venus and Mars, Ram. Hopefully it's as good as those. But yeah, Wings at the Speed of Sound. And then we got this one here, Tug of War. I think this is one of his 80s albums. And after I bought this, and again, all these are $8. After I got this here, I noticed, oh yeah, this is the one. Of course, I know the song Tug of War. But this has the song Ebony and Ivory, which, had I known, I might have thought twice about getting it. You know, the sentiment behind Ebony and Ivory is wonderful, of course. But the song, so cheesy. Back in the day, I just couldn't stomach that song. It was just too cheesy. Interesting thing, though, I remember reading an interview with Pete Townsend back in the day when this was out. And it was in Rolling Stone. And Pete Townsend surprisingly said that he loved Ebony and Ivory. He thought it was great. He thought it was cheesy as hell too, but he really liked it. So I don't know. Maybe I will feel differently when I hear it again. The rest of this album, I don't know. So this will be all new listening experience. But this is really the first 80s album that I'll be listening to by Paul McCartney. One thing that I'm sorry I missed out on is that everybody has told me that from the middle period, the one album I should hear is Pipes of Peace. And unfortunately, that was the one that I missed when they were doing these sales. They had that one, and by the time I found out about it, it was sold out. So I never got to take advantage of that one. Otherwise, I would have. But those were all $8. But as I opened these albums up and I looked at them, I got to thinking, really, what have you picked up by the other solo Beatles? And the only George Harrison album I own is All Things Must Pass. I recently picked up the new remastered version too. Or not remastered, remixed, excuse me. The only albums by John Lennon that I've heard is his Plastic Ono Band. I recently picked up this. This was the re-release. This is with the remastered tracks, or remixed tracks, I should say. I've heard the remixes, and I think the remixes sound fantastic. I heard that compilation that they did. I streamed it. I didn't purchase it, but I streamed it when they released that compilation of the remix tracks, and I thought they sounded great. And so, yeah, I got a great deal on this. This was another one of those great online sales that I picked up where I got this for just, unbelievably low price. This has some bonus tracks on it too. Haven't opened it yet, but I'm going to be opening it probably after this video and get it transferred into my music so I can, sync it to my mobile device and everything else. But yeah, the only other John Lennon solo albums I've heard, there was a greatest hits collection that I listened to back in the day called Shaved Fish. Great collection. And I've heard the album Rock and Roll, the 50s rock and roll cover album that he released, which I enjoyed. I think that album played some part in my eventually getting into what I used to refer to as oldies music. Because in the 70s, 50s music was oldies music. Of course, now all the music I grew up with is oldies music. I know, that's hard to sometimes have to deal with and sink your teeth into. Pink Floyd is oldies music, yeah. So is Led Zeppelin. It's oldies music. Yeah, I remember one of my nephews who was a drummer in a band, and he said, yeah, sometimes when I'm feeling more mellow, I like to kick back and listen to oldies like Led Zeppelin. It's more relaxing music than what I'm used to. Anyways, man, oh man. But yeah. Nothing like having nephews who are into rock and roll to really make you feel old. But anyways, though, but yeah, I thought about it like Ringo. I don't own a single Ringo album. The only one I've ever listened to is the one just entitled Ringo. It has quite a few hits on it, like Photograph on it. I believe that's the one, but I don't own it, so don't quote me if I'm wrong, or don't eat me alive on the internet if I'm wrong. But I haven't listened to too many Beatles solo albums except for Paul. And I suddenly thought, why? Why haven't you listened to more John Lennon? So I'll put that out there. I've had lots of recommendations about McCartney albums to check out. Tug of War was never one of them, by the way. I don't know what that tells you, but it was never one of them. But what John Lennon solo albums? Besides this one and rock and roll, I should pick up rock and roll. But what other albums would you recommend? I'm thinking maybe Mind Games is a good choice. I mean, I know a lot of the songs off it already. I've never gotten Imagine. I've heard the hits, but I've never gotten the album. But I'm thinking maybe Mind Games or Imagine would be the next probably obvious ones to go with. Let me know your thoughts on that. I'd appreciate your recommendations. But yeah, it's I'm such a Beatles fan, and yet I don't know why I haven't been more ardent, if that's the right word, in pursuing the solo catalogs by the Beatles and listening to more of them. I don't know why I haven't. I know a lot of huge Beatle fans that, they've got to listen to the solo stuff, In fact, Sean Lennon, John Lennon's son, he's got some great albums that he's put out, by the way. I should mention that. Anyways, though, so I just thought I'd share that haul with you. Looking forward to checking out Wings at the Speed of Sound, Tug of War, and of course, I've already heard New, but I want to hear it on vinyl and see how it compares. The nice thing about these being so cheap is that if I don't like them that much, I don't want to keep them on vinyl, it's going to be easy to sell them or just trade them and not lose too much, and who knows, maybe lose nothing at all. At any rate, though that's the little Paul McCartney haul. And like I said, it really got me thinking. Beatles solos. Why don't I hear more? Anyone want to recommend any George Harrison albums outside of All Things Must Pass that you think I should check out? What do you think I should check out first? And the same for Ringo. I don't know too much about his catalog, really, except for that one album. So let me know. As always, if you like these videos, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a video. And a big thank you to the patron supporters. Patron supporters do receive exclusive weekly videos on this channel. Patron supporters receive exclusive videos not available on this channel. Sorry about that. If you'd like to be a patron supporter, go to patreon.com/TJR the original. Every video now has a super thanks button underneath. Think of it as a tip jar. If you don't want to be a patron supporter, if you can't be a patron supporter, I certainly understand. But if you want to, you can leave a tip by just clicking that super thanks button. And of course, leave a comment too. Other than that, just thank you for watching. Appreciate you making it here to the end. I'm looking forward to reading your comments and hearing what your recommendations are. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.